Okay, so here, this is a tutorial on how to, on some fundamentals or some basics of how to do grayscale shading, like the really basic fundamental stuff. So yeah, if you would like, if you feel like it's useful for you, go ahead and watch the video, and hope you enjoy. But yes, so I started off before working on a real person. You know, we have our reference image here. I made a quick sketch of a character. Not a character, a person. And I got this image off Pinterest. And we're gonna use that person to demonstrate, I guess, the ideas today. But before I do that, I want to go even more basic with this. And what I have here is a sketch of a random block, weird block of shapes with different size. And we're gonna establish that this is our main light. So this is our main light. Make it bigger just so it's fully clear. Actually, let me go ahead and close this off so we can get more usage of the page here. This is the main light. The main light is going to hit from that direction. The first thing we can start off by saying is that what I like to do, I like to kind of start off with the base color that I use, this weird like light gray. I like to use that as my fundamental how should I say? I like to use that as my fundamental light shade, if that makes any sense. So this would be the brighter region. That color, this color you're seeing gray here, represents the lighter portion, right? And what that means is that I'm going to use, I'll go above here. That light is literally hitting here, right? And this is, I guess, something to note. Technically, yeah, this is all, let me move this to make sure it's a bit more clear. Okay, there we go. This, mind you, is hitting this at all the same, about the same distance. So what that means, I guess, physics-wise and for you, drawing-wise, is that if it's hitting something at the same distance, then it's generally the same shade, right? The light is hitting there, it's all kind of the same distance, right? It's generally the same shade. Now, it's all the same distance. Let me make it a bit more clear here. Bam, bam, bam. Oh, that's crooked. Come on. Bam, 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 bam. Right? If you wanted to represent the kind of the shade of light hitting this corner and this corner, how would you go about it? Because it's not direct anymore, right? It's not just facing away. There's a change in distance it takes the light rays to reach the different surfaces. So for example, the distance it takes to reach this part is going to be shorter than the distance it takes to reach that part. Does that make sense? So I guess to show you another illustration of this, let's say I have a surface. This is a top view. Let's just call it the top. Oh, I should probably do a top view of the shape. Hang on. Let's quickly reproduce that. If I do a top view of this shape, right? And let's say the light is coming from here. This is where our light source is flying in from. So it's hitting here. That's what we just showed. That's what I just showed you. Now here, again, the light is gonna hit here, right? Cool. But the distance is gonna be a little bit longer here. And it's gonna be a bit longer here. And it's gonna be a bit longer there, right? It's not hitting exactly the same distance. The same thing here on this other side. It's gonna hit shorter here, but it takes a little longer to get back there, and then a lot longer to get back there. What does this mean? This means that the energy is lost. Well, can you lose energy? Energy cannot be stored. It can change from one form to another. Let me not get any physics stuff wrong, but I'll say the intensity is definitely reduced, because the longer it takes for light to get somewhere, the intensity of that light reduces. So, you know, if you flash a light from 5 meters away, it's going to be not as bright, so flashing right in your eye, right? That intensity is lost, and what that means is that there's a change in lighting in that corner. So now that I've kind of talked about that, let me put main light here. Let's actually start reproducing this, shall we? Oh, let me keep that main light there. Okay, that'll be useful for us. Now, remember I said that this fundamental gray here is the base layer, right? The base. And I mentioned that it's kind of there's a gradual change. Let me go open that up again. Close that. Okay, there's a gradual change. See down there? There's a gradual change in distance. So what does that mean? That means I'm gonna go ahead and make it a little bit darker. Right? Well, probably go ahead and make it a little darker. Like so. Now, there's two ways you can kind of go about this. Some people, as you can see in this actual reference image here of the character, you can see how everything is generally, how should I say? Is generally, what's my brain trying to say? Everything generally like one shade. For example, all this is one shade, this is one shade, this is one shade. You can go that way, right? And that's perfectly fine. So that's one way to go about it. You can make it all kind of a general one shade, even though there's kind of a change in energy. A more, how should I say, realistic way to go about it though. What I would do, I'm going to go ahead here and go ahead and hit selection area. Actually, give me 1 second. Let me make sure y'all can see what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead down, where's this at? Oh, I got lost here, sorry. I'm gonna go here where you have selection area. I'm gonna click that. Then I'm gonna go to polyline, press that. And I'm gonna go here and select that plane. Now I've made a selection of that plane. I'm gonna go ahead and pick the lighter color. Again, remember this is our main light base light color. We're just adding shades onto it, right? We have a base, we're gonna add shades or darker tones to it. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit the gradient tool down here. Make sure it's straight line, and then go ahead and do that. Rather than make it a little better, go ahead and do that. What that means is that you've essentially added a gradient. Again, remember, it's stronger. So let's close this for a second. It's stronger here. Oh, not like that. It's stronger. I'm trying to find a good brush. What the heck? It's stronger here. Right? It's stronger here than here because there's more of a distance it takes to get to that point, right? So you're gonna see it being brighter in that side. The same thing is gonna happen on the other side here. Again, it's more distance it takes to get to the surface. So I'm gonna go ahead again, fill this area out. And then I'm just gonna use a let's just use polyline. You can use polyline. Go ahead, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then make that lighter. So that's that, right? The top is actually gonna be affected as well. But in that case, what I would do, and this is what really makes your artwork really start to shine when it comes to adding and handling your gradients, is that you can then try and make, so if you look here on your reference image here, you can see how this shade is not exactly the same as this shade, which is not exactly the same as this shade, and even here it's a little bit different. Adding that different variation in shades can really help you out in making your stuff look more fantastic. And in this case, I'm gonna go ahead, make sure it's on all layers, and then fill here. I could make it a little bit lighter maybe, like that. Okay, now that I've done that, here's a really interesting part. So, actually, I realized this shape is not clean, so I'm just gonna go ahead and fill that out. Okay, behind here, I'm gonna show you an interesting phenomenon. So I'm gonna have to zoom in a little bit to my little diagram I was doing earlier. I just realized the whole thing is flipped, so that's not good. At least the video should be fine, but the file is flipped. But, so, remember this, right? We said that the lines are kind of shooting, from here. There's a main light source. They're all attacking is a strong word. they're all kind of going after the shape. Now, if you look here, I'm gonna zoom in here real quick. I'm gonna close this off so I can really get a good look. If you look here, light is gonna go past. Oh, I need the actual, you know. Light is gonna go past here and hit the block. And then the same rules we talked about earlier, where the difference in distance kind of makes it show. The difference in distance kind of makes it darker. That rule applies again, but there's like a weird gap here. There's like a weird little gap right here, where light is not touching this part at all. Light is not touching this part at all. So you could do this. You do a little zigzag, or not zigzag. So you add some stripes there. This is light, the region where light does not touch at all. This is going to be really important, and we're going to see it when we're doing the lady's face in a little bit. But this is really important for getting, how should I say? This is really important for getting the planes of the face really sharply. Is that there's going to be regions where light is not coming in contact at all, and that's a similar thing here. Remember, light is. So bring back our arrows. Light is gonna go past and hit, right? And then what you're gonna see is that following the same angle of this, there's gonna be a line that shoots back here, right? Hits that plane. So you'll be able to see. Oh, let me zoom in here. You'll be able to see. Can't see only the top view. Never mind. Okay, sorry about that. What am I trying to say? The arrow is gonna shoot past like this, right? If you look down here, we have that crossed region, so this region is gonna be crossed, and then in our case, what we're gonna do a line going down. This is really important. You're gonna do a line going down, right? And then the regular rules from before apply here. So it's gonna get longer and then longer and then longer, right? What does this region mean? That means that this region is invisible to the light, essentially. That doesn't make any sense. But that region is not, you cannot see that region because of that, right? It is blocked out. So how do we represent this? And if you have any questions in the comments, please, about this particular portion, please, I'll try to throw, I guess, some images if possible in this section to kind of demonstrate what I'm showing. But that region is not visible to that light. So what does that mean for us? What we're gonna do in this case is we're gonna take, hang on one second. So this region here is not gonna be hit by the light. This region, I just used all these lines to cross out. There'll be no light reaching that because the light is shooting from the main source, right? From the main light, it's gonna shoot down there. It's gonna go here. Actually, I'm trying to find that. Okay, it's gonna go here where this is. Bam, bam, right? It's gonna cross that, and then everything that is within that space is not in direct contact. Is not in direct contact with the light. That means that part will be shaded out. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and actually get a little darker one to really emphasize that idea, right? And then I can probably even leave what I had earlier, maybe just make it a little bit lighter so I can kind of see, make it a little bit visible, which I'll be able to see what I'm doing, right? And then I'm gonna go in like so, fill this out like this. Let's close that off. Does that make sense? And I'm asking a question like that for the Patreon, people that are actually watching live on Patreon. If you want to have live access to stuff like this, go ahead, join and become a Patreon. We got tons of benefits, including, I guess, access to these study sessions, both for $5 and $10 tier patrons. And then you have other perks, of course, like voting in polls, and you get free OC sketches every Monday, and the how do I say, the amount of sketches you get per month, of course, depends on what tier you're on. But yeah, follow, join the Patreon at patreon.com/afdsbm, all under or all small letters, and yeah, you get access to live. But as you can see, one of our members just mentioned that it's not visible here. Also, is this the shape that will be in the red for later? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's just a random shape I use to really kind of show you different ways light can interact with this, right? So, but yes, I guess what I'm trying to say is this part, just like trying to make sure that's understood. This part here, right? This line is literally blocking light from touching this portion. Right? It's like, for example, if you flash a flashlight, right, and you put like your hand in front of something, right? So if you put your hand in front of something, it's gonna cast a shadow on the surface behind your hand. Does that make sense? So if you flash, I'll try and put a picture of this in a YouTube video too, if I can. If you flash a light at your hand and you have a surface behind, it's gonna cast a shadow on the surface behind your hand. And it's essentially what this is. This, accent. Go back. This is literally just casting. Not that either. Where am I at? Okay. It's literally just casting. Yo, I'll be fighting with my equipment sometimes. Okay. It's literally just casting a shadow on that surface. And then, as you mentioned here, you're just gonna go ahead and pick this part like so. And then you can careful not to do too much though. You don't want to be too noticeable, but yeah, like that. Like not like a rim light, like literally your hand casting a shadow on something. Like literally, like I mean, I guess I see what you're saying. I kind of added a bit of rim light there. You don't have to. I mostly did that because it's okay. This is another concept. I guess I gotta explain, but. The idea is the distance. So let's do another shape here. For those watching on YouTube, bear with me here. I feel like I'm going through a lot, but if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. And if you need, I can make more videos to elaborate. So if you have, let's zoom in on what I'm doing here. One second, move this up here a little bit. And then I'm gonna duplicate this. Make everything a bit smaller. And I move this back. Actually, there's a better way for me to do this. Hang on. Right. Let's have a ball with light shining in front of it. I'm gonna separate these two a bit more so it's more clear what's happening. I'm gonna put a dividing line in between. So there's different scenarios here. Let's say our main light is attacking from this angle, right? The distance matters. The distance at which it's attacking matters because the closer it is, the sharper the shadow is gonna be. So let's say a light is hitting from that angle. You're gonna see a shadow like this, right? But if the further away it is, what you're gonna see is gonna be a bit more blurry. And you know, there's ways you can add blur to it. You can use this literally blur tool. Oop, not like that. You can add a blur like this, right? Or does it make sense, by the way? So the further away it is, the blur it is, yeah. Right, so what happened here is that there's a bit of distance, so I decided to add a bit of a blur. It's as simple as that. It's nothing crazy, but essentially this part here, I guess if you were to like draw it on the inside, right? This part on that side is casting a shadow on the wall. That's literally what that is. Okay, how does everything sound with all this yapping I've been doing? Is that making sense? Okay. Awesome. Now, let's go ahead and actually put our figure. Hang on, I'm just gonna make a folder for this real quick. Alright, now we have our character here, and I'm going to go ahead and, again, we have our reference image I put here, but I didn't want to use their shading because I thought it'd be kind of copying, or we're still going to copy in this case, but it's going to be a little bit different. So here we have our reference image here. So remember, this is our basic, the gray you're seeing here is basically the main light. Let's go ahead and throw that in again, which I thought I had it, but I guess not. That's wrong. Let's go ahead and throw that in again. Our main light is coming from here, and it's hitting the face. Now, remember what I said about different distances? It's going to be going crazy in this piece. So don't even try to worry about that. Some of this has to be intuitive, but at least we have a reference image here. There's this website, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the link. I'm gonna put the link in the description below and in the video as I show you. It's an ArtStation website where somebody had created a tool where you can literally rotate light around the source and figure out exactly what lighting you need, and I'll try and show a video demonstration from that too here. But essentially you can use that to help figure out how you want to light your character, so you don't have to do guesswork. You know, a lot of this is kind of hard, and actually it was really useful for me to learn to where I don't necessarily need that all the time. It's really useful to have references, but you don't need that. Now, the first thing I want to mention, which I didn't mention on the live yet, on the recording, I guess for YouTube yet, is that you don't care about any of the actual like colors of the character in this, or the person in this case. That's none of your business at this point. Your main focus is on the values, so you do not care about it. So throw everything about colors out of your mind right now, like it's all gonna go. You're more worried about the figure and how the light is interactive, similar to the cues we just did earlier, or the blocky shape. So I'm going to start off with the parts that are a bit facing away. Actually, let's go ahead and start with the parts that are like not interacting with light. So if you remember from down here, this part is not interacting with the light at all, so it's going to be like much darker than all the other surfaces on this. So what does that mean for us? Actually, real quick, let me just add main light here so it's clear what that whole symbol is. So first things first, you can do it on the same layer, or you can do it low. Let's do it on a different layer. So here's our base layer here, and then I'm gonna go above, and then go to clip to layer below, so you can just start adding stuff on top. It makes it easier to erase and stuff that way. So here we go. So as you can look at our reference here, let's zoom in even better. There we go. This is not interacting with light at all. Nope. This part is not interacting with light at all. Neither is here. Here is not interacting. Of course, this side. What else? This side. This side's not interacting. Now this isn't in the image, but we can assume that it's not going to be hitting the light. And when I say not interacting, I mean light is not reaching. Light cannot reach because it's on the other side of the person's face. So I'm going to go ahead and fill out the areas I know for a fact light cannot reach. Even any form of light. Sometimes light can reach, and you'll see that in a minute here. Light can kind of reach sometimes, but if it's a side that's directly opposing that, you want to cut it off entirely. So all this, no, there's no light is reaching that. So that's the first step. Here's where we start to think about things a bit more differently, right? I'm not going to make it as cubical as our reference image here. You can absolutely if you want to, but I'm going to make things a little bit more free. if you're using a drawing pencil or a drawing tablet, you want to get a good handle of your brush control. And what that means is that you should be able to apply thickness and reduce thickness when not needed. I'm going to try and also simplify some of the shapes that they have here. I guess the basic stuff that I do when I'm drawing. So I'm going to start off with this. This part here is interacting, there's some interaction with light, which means it's not going to be as dark as here, right? So I'm just going to go ahead. All you need is like a triangle. Generally, what you need to fill out that spot is a triangle. Right? Generally, that's all you need for that. Next, similar situation here. This place usually has a bit of brightness, like right in between. So the forehead is kind of has like 3 planes. So there's this plane you can see here. There's this side, and there's this, and then there's this side. So you can think about it in a more broad way. This side of the forehead is going to interact with the light, so that's going to be the brightest part. So what that means is that this center part is going to be not fully bright, but kinda, right? Similar thing with the lips here. This side is going to interact a bit more with the light than, actually no, sorry. It's gonna be a bit of interaction, so you're gonna do something like this there, because there's gonna be some light hitting. There's gonna be light hitting that side of the mouth. Then similar thing down here, right? Does this make sense, by the way, what I'm doing so far? Then I'm gonna go ahead here and add some shade right there, and I'm trying to follow. I guess let me slow down. Oh no, hang on. I messed up the thing here. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it will be a shade up from darker light. Exactly. It's not exactly that darker light. It's just a little bit up, right? You're gonna see a bit of that here, as you can see. So you can see this line right here, and you can put your lights on the side for each step. Oh, and can you put the lights? Oh, right. Like you mean what I mean? Okay. So the shades, right? So this is gonna be our lighter. Ooh. Oh, it's not letting me go above, so I'm gonna have to. So this is gonna be the lighter one. I'm gonna try to use only about 3 tones here. You're probably gonna see me mix a little bit, but so this is the light. This is the medium light. And then this is the dark. So I'm gonna try and stick between these 3 shades. I'm gonna try and stick within those 3 shades there, right? To kind of create this piece. But yeah. So right now I'm going with medium light. I'm just gonna paint this here. You're gonna see me go under here a little bit, right? The idea is that the face has different planes overall. That's kind of what they're trying to show you here. This is kind of different from this. You can simplify it as needed, but you want to try and add as many planes as you can because it makes the face look more interesting that way. Oh, yeah, of course, no problem. Then I'm gonna do a bit here, right? And then some here. And I know I just said I'm gonna stick with those 3, but in this case, I'm gonna go like somewhere in between these 2, right? So in between this and this, I'm gonna just pick any color, pick a color like in between that. That's not what, okay. Like this. Again, actually, hang on, let me not confuse y'all. Let's not do that. Let's go ahead and just fill that in. Right? I'm gonna add a bit of that here. You're gonna bring some of the darker actually under the lip. The lip is usually a strong. Oh, I just put everything on the wrong layer. Scratch all that. Let's go back to where we're supposed to be. What happens to me? So go ahead and put that down. Right, and then I'm gonna go under here, pick the dark, go under here a little bit, right, and then I'm gonna actually push this a little bit more, Remember, the idea is that there's a side that has a lot more light than the others. It's generally the idea of how this works. You can also play around in between, so I'm gonna go in between the light. Right now I'm gonna go in between the light. I wish my cursor would show. I'm gonna go in between the light and the medium light. I'm gonna pick a color in between them. Like so. Again, play around a little bit with your shape. You can use the guide here as a reference if needed, or if needed. Right, trying to smooth things out when you can. You know, while you're watching me right now, I'm just kind of throwing in some other shapes in there, because this part is not going to directly interact with the light, so you're going to see a bit of a shade there. You're gonna see a bit of a darker shade here because it's further away from the light. Remember, everything far from the light, darker. Further away from the light it is, darker it is. Generally. That's the idea. So here's gonna be darker. Get into some of the eye. Darker. Alright. You can see based on here, this place is a little bit, this spot here, it's a little bit darker. So I'm gonna go ahead, darken that. Oh, we also have her head. I'm gonna add some stuff in the headband. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit more. But 1 second here. So here we have medium. Go ahead and pick medium. Right, there's gonna be some corners that aren't exactly jacking light, but they kind of are. A quick tip I will say is, when you're doing this, don't be afraid to add I don't know how to explain this really well, but at least this is kind of an art style thing for me. But don't be afraid to add a couple more values, kind of throw in there, just playing around, adding a couple more things here and there. I don't say this often, I should say it more, but I feel like being playful with your art is one of the best things you can do overall, because a lot of amazing art comes from happy mistakes, right? You know, you're not, how do I say, you're not exactly always anticipating something amazing coming out of what you're doing, but when it does, you know, it's a pleasure. You know, it's a pleasure to see. And the only way that can happen is if you allow those happy mistakes to happen. So allow some variance, essentially what I'm trying to say. Allow some variance in how you do your strokes and stuff like that, you know, to make it look more interesting, right? It doesn't have to be perfectly realistic, but if you can make it somewhat believable and easy on the eyes, kind of, then, you know, you can get away with a lot. A lot of art is just convincing people that you know what you're doing even when you don't. But yeah, I'm gonna go in here. Hang on, that's not correct color. There we go. So right now I'm just in the phase of kind of clean everything up I just did. Okay, don't do that. That's adding confusion. Ignore that. You can darken here, that's the eyebrow, just filling that out. Again, I'm just bouncing in between these three colors. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I use colors in between them, but allow yourself the freedom to explore that way. Don't feel held back. Use the references, of course. Use the reference you have at your disposal to get something believable. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but believable. That's all you need. You're gonna see it here, actually behind the ear, it's gonna be blocked. There's no light interacting with that. Even here we have light interacting. You can throw in a bit of a darker shade, just a little bit darker, to make it, again, more visually interesting, right? You're not trying to stay stuck to one thing. And here, just me rotating the canvas to play around with that, right? That's the idea. Throw in shapes to make your stuff more interesting. I'm gonna go in under here and add darker shapes here. like so. Again, play around with your brush pressure to ensure that you're not using all the same tones. You know, your tone should be variable, and the only does control how much pressure you're actually applying on the brush. So for example, you can see here, it's gonna get darker. You gotta get good at doing that. It's gonna help you down the line. So you don't have to keep changing colors to make, oh, I want a lighter gray. Well, you don't need a lighter gray if you can just apply just a little bit less pressure on like the stroke you're doing. You don't need a lighter gray for that. That's the idea. And yeah, you know, here we're approaching something. Just adding some shadows over here. You can actually even go darker as well. Again, you're still keeping in mind, hey, this part of the body is probably not going to interact with the light as much. So I'm just going to try and shape it up to where it's not interacting. So you can see it gets a little lighter here, but we make sure to not have it being overly dark on this side, right? Because that part is closest to the light, is going to interact with it the most. Like so. I'm going to add some shading here for clothing. Because you're gonna see it's gonna cast, her clothes are gonna cast a shadow on her chest, like so, right? And yeah, this is a really, I guess, basic form of it, but I guess just to show you why this is, oh, actually no. Hang on, before I finish, go ahead and pick some darker colors here. We can throw some darker shades down here, like here. Something else, you know, just to make it a little more interesting. Something's a little bit, right? Throw in just a couple. And you can even go even lighter. So I'm gonna pick this color, and then I'm gonna go even lighter to add. You know, maybe even lighter to add a bright brush stroke there. But yeah, everybody here now? Hang on, my stuff be disconnecting. For on YouTube, my internet connection is spotty. It can get rather spotty. So, can you hear me? Can you hear me? It's going a little haywire here. Okay, but yeah, this is, yeah, everything will rotate. I'm just gonna leave it like this. But just to show y'all real quick what the advantage of doing this is, I'm going to come in over here. So try not to pay that much attention to this. I'm just gonna show you something cool. You can add like you can add your lighting, like the color of your lighting, the general mood of your lighting, by going to layer. So click on layer, then go to correction layer, and then go down here to gradient map. And once you hit the gradient map, so you can already see it's a little bit darker. And what you do with this is that you can actually pick how do I say? You can pick kind of a tonal effect. So if your character, let me show you real quick. If your character is, you know, in the sunset, go ahead and throw this in, and it'll give you like a basis for what you can do with a sunset, right? If your character is in, and mind you, we haven't even done everything we can yet, right? But just to show you all a couple tricks here, if you go to blue sky, it can be like something like kind of like a very vivid blue color there. No, for sure, Spicy, you got it. This is gonna take it's gonna take a lot of practice. You know, I'm actually learning a lot more about this myself. So yeah, definitely. If there's anything else I can tell y'all, I can help y'all with, I'll definitely let you know. But yeah, you can do this if you want to make it like a night sky proper. Hang on, I thought I saw something darker. Well, I guess I didn't. But yeah, something like this. You can make it a bit more purple. This is currently my favorite right now. I don't know why. It's just like, because I tend to use, before I use the gradient method, I used to use a lot more purples and golds for my tones. So this kind of just naturally works for me. So I end up liking that. A typical blue sky or midday sky can look like this, right? But yeah. And then to show you the full magic of everything, I'm gonna close this. So this is where all my art is. I'm gonna close that main layer. I'm gonna go below, and here I can actually return to the illustration we have here. I'm gonna try and pick a brown. You know, the lighting of this piece is heavily, you know, impacted, so it's gonna be a little tricky. But I'm gonna try what I can. Let's see what try to do what I can here. I'm gonna go below. Oh, and I forgot to describe something. Let me just go ahead and put this real quick. Just to describe something I forgot to say. In your gradient map, so the thing we just did to change all these colors, right? The idea of it is that the darker spots that you did, so the real darker shadows, those end up being everything that's here. So on the left side, you see a lot of the, wait, I just realized I don't think y'all can see the window for some reason. Oh, we can. Never mind. Okay. So the stuff on the left here is going to be darker, and the stuff on the right here is going to be lighter. So when you have the wider grays, or the lighter grays are going to be colored more towards here, and then the darker grays are going to be colored more towards the left. And the idea is that it's essentially mapping that color, the color, onto your illustration. If that makes sense. But yeah, I think you can also use bounce light in this, but I still have to tinker around with it and see if it works. And if so, then I guess I'll let y'all know. But yeah. Where's that going? Okay, yeah. So that's that. The next thing, I'm gonna go ahead and put that below. I'm just gonna turn this off. I'm gonna move this line art out here. I'm just gonna turn this off just for a second, so we can fill out some line art, shall we? I'm gonna go quickly with this because the video is already 40 minutes long. Oh my gosh. Definitely gonna be some sped up parts for sure. But yeah. I probably should make her darker. I'm pretty sure this is a... Oh no, I made a mistake. Hang on. Alright, I did that the wrong layer. Yeah, it did. That's kind of cool. Did you already know about the gradient map tool? I did not know about it for a long time. I always wondered how people did grayscale. I already knew you could use a multiply to layer on top of a grayscale, but I didn't realize just how many tools there were. But yeah, it was pretty amazing to see. But yes, then I'm gonna go ahead and add the eyes. Probably should make her skin darker. What I like about this compared to my previous method is that when I would add the gold that I use for my highlights, the gold would often soften the skin color, and I used to get allegations of I've gotten allegations in the past of lightening character skin, which is that's probably one of the most, I don't say insulting, that sounds, but probably one of the most disturbing allegations you can get, at least for me. So I've always hated those. So finding this method has allowed me to give a bit more accurate coloring, and I've enjoyed that. So I'm just gonna do it and do the lips. I'm gonna go ahead and darken the skin color just a little bit. Ooh. A bit more saturation there, so it's not brown. Okay, there we go. Or it's not muddy. Okay, there we go. So we're gonna go with this. I'm gonna go ahead and put this what I had before, and when you do, you set this to a multiply. Voila, your lighting is there in your design. But yes, this is what you can do with the gradient stuff. So yeah, let's try and practice everything we went over today. If you found it useful, let me know below. Any other tutorials specifically you'd like, and yeah, enjoy everybody. But yeah, this is the results. Pretty sharp, isn't it? Have a good one.